Hello, I am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2021. This is my third attempt, number 3. Fingers crossed that on this commentary will actually get to be put on my YouTube channel. I did two other. The first one I did was when this originally happened on April the 6th, where I caught Meghan McCain in a lie. On the episode of on the episode of April the 6th, 2021, where the ladies talked about when we learned the verdict of the former Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin that killed now the late George Floyd. He was found guilty on all 3 charges of first, second, third degree murder. The ladies gave their thoughts upon the matter. Meghan McCain stated that she did not know that the video was 9 minutes. This was again, those words came out of her mouth April the 6th, 2021. But you can go back and do the research as well. May 27th, coming up on a year ago this month, May 27, 2020, the ladies talked about it when it had originally happened, and everybody gave their commentary on it, their thoughts, and all of that. Meghan McCain said she watched the entire video. So therefore, if she watched the entire video, again, I called her in a lie because she said she didn't know that the video was not over 9 minutes, was 9 minutes long. It's 9 minutes and 26 seconds. I think Sonny said, but I thought 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Either way, there's a 3-second difference, whether it was 26 seconds or 29. It was 9 minutes 26, 9 minutes 29, almost 10 minutes where an unarmed black man with his hands handcuffed behind his back was on a pavement with a white police officer using extreme force. His knee was on his neck. He's caused this man to suffocate, to lose body fluids, all while over 9 minutes, 26, 29 seconds, almost 10 minutes, with his hands in his pockets, where he should have just had him in the police car. There was no need for him to even be on the pavement. But this was by choice, in extreme force, and he chose to kill this man, and he was found guilty. But again, going back to the commentary of this matter, Meghan McCain on May 27, 2020 said she watched the entire video. April the 6th, 2021, she said she didn't know it was over 9 minutes. So let's try and listen to it. And again, I do want to give a disclaimer. Note, copyright and fair use. Excerpts of copyrighted material made under certain circumstances be quoted for news, reporting, blogging, commentary, research without the need for permission from our payments of the copyright holder. And let's try to listen to this. Okay, here we go.
Technique. It is not. Once Mr. Floyd had stopped resisting, and certainly once he was in distress and trying to verbalize that should have stopped.
I mean, I have so many questions. Starting with, why did they take George Floyd out of the police car in the first place? I don't understand that. And when I listen to these people try to justify, say, well, he was a drug addict, he was this. Listen, he did not exhibit like he was going, having an OD. There was a man sitting on his neck, which will kill you. And they're still trying to say, well, no, it wasn't his sitting on George Floyd's neck that caused his death. I mean, it's crazy, but let me ask you, Sonny, how much of an impact will the police chief's testimony have for this? I'll start with you, Joy.
Okay. I worry about these cases very much because history shows that juries are very reluctant to convict these abusive police officers. The blue walls seem to be crumbling from what I could see from the trial so far. Because it's such an open and shut case, it's impossible to really justify what this guy Chauvin did. Like you said, you have questions. It's like once you put the guy in handcuffs, I don't see why he has to be then on the ground also with your knee in his neck. That seems to be abusive and overkill. And then to put it there for 9 minutes, outrageous. We all saw with our own eyes what happened there. But I watched the Rodney King thing also and other situations like this. And the cops are are proven not guilty or something. They just get away with it. The other thing is that this guy had many complaints against him, Chauvin. So obviously there's a systemic failure in that police department also, because he should have been stopped before this. And what about the people who are the observers, the police who were watching? They need to maybe be held accountable also. So your question is, will this make a difference? I hope so, but I worry about it.
Yeah. Sonny, we should be celebrating, of course, that finally a police officer is saying, hey, this is not how we do things here. Do you think this trial could be a bit of a tipping point for police reform? We've been here before, but is it possible that his testimony could help change something?
I do. I do think that this case is different because, George Floyd's death mobilized the world, not just this country. We saw solidarity across the world. We saw protests in New Zealand, in South Africa, in China, not only here in the United States. And so I do think that this could certainly be a real change moment, Whoopi. And in my view, in all my years prosecuting cases, I have never seen evidence against a police officer this strong. And the prosecution here came out swinging, came out so strong and told these jurors, you can believe your eyes. You can believe your eyes, because the world saw former officer Derek Chauvin kill, murder George Floyd with a knee on his neck for over 9 minutes. And now you have other officers, the chief of police testifying, this is not police protocol. This man was not trained to do this. And to Joy's point, what is just so horrible, if you look at Chauvin's record, he was involved, he shot one suspect, was involved in the fatal shooting of another, and received at least 17 complaints during his nearly 2 decades with the department. 16 of those complaints were closed without any discipline. So there's just no question that there's a systemic problem in this police department, and we know that there's a systemic problem across police departments all over the country. And the George Floyd Policing Act was passed in the House, and the Senate only needs 10 Republicans to join them in passing that law federally. And I pray, I hope that will lead to real change in police reform.
Meghan, what's your reaction to how this trial is being played out so far? Do you think having the police chief say, this isn't what we do, was a good thing for the possibility of seeing real change happen?
Yeah, I tried to watch the trial, and I watched bits and pieces of it on our hiatus, and the George Floyd video, I think, is one of those paradigm cultural moments that will resonate with Americans forever. It just is one of the most graphic and egregious killing of an unarmed black man by a police officer. And if you watch the video, it's incredibly graphic, it's incredibly heart-wrenching, and you're seeing a man murdered in cold blood in front of cameras. There were things, when the witnesses were testifying, some of the people I've seen, they're so emotional and they're so overcome with distraught and with anguish, because they all seem to be haunted by the fact that they didn't do enough to stop him from being killed. There was one woman who was an EMT who yelled at Derek Chauvin and the other police officer who was standing next to him saying, "I'm an EMT, let me help, let me come in, let me try and save him." So it was evident. I didn't realize there was like a huge group of people around him at the time as well. And it's horrific. I mean, if any person was standing there and watched that happen, you would be haunted with it for the rest of your life. So it's not just what's going on in the world, which is huge, and not just what happened to George Floyd, which is evil, but there's a lot of lives that have been ruined and deeply impacted, and a lot of trauma from this experience. So I do hope it creates a lot of systemic change across the board that needs to happen with the police forces in the country. I will also say I didn't realize that it was 9.5 minutes. The segments on this show, to put it in perspective, normally range around 7 before a commercial break. It's a really, really long time to have someone's knee on someone's neck and not do anything about it. The other police officer that was next to Derek Chauvin was also asking and checking and trying to get him to stop as well, and clearly didn't do enough. The details of the case, I don't know how anybody in America doesn't think that Derek Chauvin should be in jail for the rest of his life, if not worse. I don't know how you're going to find a jury that disagrees. The most conservative, red state, Blue Lives Matter people in my life think that Derek Chauvin is a murderer that should be in jail. I have a lot of people in my life who are in law enforcement. A lot of people in law enforcement tend to come from the military. I obviously have a lot of people in my life that served in the military. I deeply respect and appreciate and love law enforcement, but that doesn't mean there shouldn't be systemic change and a real reckoning with things like putting your knee on somebody's neck and all these trainings that are clearly not only outdated but lethal. And I think the use of extreme force is something that I know that I take a second look at, and I'm not in law enforcement, but this is a rough one, and it's very, very hard for me to watch the trial, as I think it is for many Americans, but I think it's important to, if you can.
Yeah.
Okay. That was on, again, April the 6th, 2021, where she said she didn't know that the video was over 9 minutes. So now, let's go to last year, May 27th, will soon be a year, where she said she watched the entire video. I'm just going to only play her part.
People, and if you're white, so there's just facts that...
Let me find it. I don't know why. Okay. Just played it, now I can't find it. And like I said, this is my third attempt. To try and do this commentary to call out Mrs. Meghan McCain on her lies. This is important commentary to share. Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. That was okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Rage.
Okay.
I'm
gonna get there, people. Bear with me. Here we go.
Megan, what's your take on just, are we all just so frustrated people are just losing their minds in the streets, you think?
Yeah, I mean, there was huge amounts of protesters that took to the streets last night, and I think people are sitting in their homes and seeing what is blatantly a murder of a man on camera. And George Floyd, I watched the entire video. I know we didn't want to show the entire thing, but it's very graphic. It's very violent. The police officer has his knee on his neck. In the video, there are bystanders screaming that he can't breathe. He says, "I can't breathe." He asks for water. And then you see his body go limp, and then you see them dragging him, and you see liquid in the spot where he was, because he has clearly been suffocated. It is very violent. Very. And I think when you're sitting at home and seeing a blatant murder of an unarmed black man on video, you can understand why people are reaching a fever pitch, because it doesn't seem like this is stopping. And it's not just happening in Minneapolis, it's happening all over the country, everywhere. This is a systemic problem nationally. And what's interesting on top of that is ABC had released footage this morning of George when he was originally arrested, and he's not resisting and he's not struggling. They handcuff him and take him to the side of a wall, and he's being very compliant in every way. So I think the question that so many of us have is, how do you go from being someone who's not resisting arrest, who seems to be completely complying with police officers, to having your neck suffocated 9 minutes later and you dying? And I think these police officers should 100% be on trial for murder. They are clearly already on trial in the court of public opinion, but I don't know how much more communities across the board, not just African American communities, but Americans in general, can withstand this, especially at this moment in time when there's so much anger and so much frustration. And I really worry about these kind of riots going across the country, because I just don't think Americans can handle this anymore. It's just so blatant and egregious. And, you know, apparently if you are a police officer, and I would like to say they're great police officers everywhere, it's not a blanket statement, but when you see people like this who are just going to murder someone in broad daylight, it obviously puts a mark on all of them.
Okay, again, that was May 27th, 2020. You heard her say she watched the entire video. May 27th, 2020. Don't believe me? Go out there, Google The View, May 27, 2020, April the 6th, 2021. She said she didn't know it was 9 minutes long, over 9 minutes long. Lies. So I am LaMarsha Lewis. This is a commentary platform on speaking my views, my opinion, giving my perspective, but also because this is a commentary channel, with the utmost admiration to grow this platform to be a TV talk show host myself, a political analyst, a commentator, commentary, however you want to call it. It is important that I did the calling out of Meghan McCain, co-host of The View, in her words, political analyst, the one and only lone conservative in media, or has a media platform. Hypocrisy of lies. We know she does it quite frequently. She often seems to get away with it. But she said, and I'm, as you can see, I'm stressing this, May 27th, 2020, coming on a year that she watched the entire video. Therefore, if you truly watched the entire video, how in the hell you come on April the 6th, 2021, three days away from a month, saying you didn't know it was 9 minutes long, over 9 minutes long? The hypocrisy, the lies of Meghan McCain. And this is my commentary. Again, this is acknowledgement, a disclaimer for commentary purposes. I am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk.